Hi, everyone. Welcome to Game.Set.Chat. So happy you are joining us today. We have a very special show. We will have a special guest, Serena Williams, will be joining us. Plus, we will be talking about the 30-year anniversary of Zina Garrison's historic run to the Wimbledon final. Zina, can you believe it's been 30 years?
No, I cannot believe 30 years. I mean, 30 years has gone by so fast, but it's been an amazing just run going back and all what's happened in 30 years ago.
I'm so excited to introduce our next guest. It's been fantastic watching her over the course of her career. She really needs no introduction. So I'm just going to go right ahead and say, come on in, Serena Williams. Just watching you, how you've done at Wimbledon. This is a special show for me because I wanted, as I've mentioned, to celebrate Zina, to celebrate the 30-year anniversary of her run to the Wimbledon final. And the connotation of that, what she was up against, it had been not since Althea Gibson that a Black woman had made it to the finals of Wimbledon. She was the first in the Open era. You, of course, have followed in her footsteps and up the ante. But, I want to talk to both of you guys about Wimbledon and how special it is. And for those of our viewers who maybe aren't as familiar, it's probably arguably the biggest tennis tournament in the world with the most history
Yeah.
for a lot of people, if you think about it. And, for what you guys have done, first you, Zina, I want to ask you, what did that feel like, especially going into the tournament? You talked about maybe not feeling as great, thinking about quitting, thinking about retirement. How did you turn
Yeah.
things around and get through and have that big of a run?
Well, I think that's an understatement to say not feeling great. I could not see the ball at all. I mean, for one entire week, it was just like I was playing the worst tennis that I had ever played in my entire life. And I truly thought about quitting, but I had put so much effort and time into it. I actually had a sports therapist there with me that was, and I thought about that. I watched the match the other day against Monica Seles, and so for me, I just knew that I had to
That
like.
was the quarterfinals, right?
Yes, it was the quarterfinals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I
We,
actually hit
we
that
went to
forehand
get
down the line on a match point. That's what I went to the sports therapist for because I had missed it so many times over again.
yeah. Well, that
Well,
paid off. We had really, because we were in Compton, obviously, and I remember we would, it was great because we would practice early and then we would go home and we would watch the Wimbledon and we would watch you and then we would have to go back to practice. So it was really an iconic moment for myself and my sister and really for all the tennis, especially for people that were black and that were trying to, do something different. But it was so cool.
Well, I think Serena, you would have been about 8 at that time, I think, when 1990, right? So it's
Yeah.
a few years ago, thinking back. I remember for me,
No, baby.
um, I mean, I wasn't quite a baby. I was a little bit older. I remember for me, I had not turned pro yet, but I had started playing some pro events. I would turn pro in 1991. But around that time, Zina, I think it was after your Wimbledon run, I actually went to Houston to hit with you, to spend some time at McGregor Park, ran the Bayou. You kind of took me in. I mean, you and Lori were already in the thick of it, training hard. I was kind of like maybe an annoyance, but you guys took me in,
No.
showed me the ropes a little bit, taught me a lesson, Serena, around the Bayou. But I remember that so clearly because for me, it was so inspirational with you coming off of that run. The people that you beat. I mean, you talk about Monica Seles being down match point and coming up with a huge shot, beating Steffi Graf, who I think hadn't lost for like 3 years in the semifinals before. So it was just incredible for me to interact with you in those circumstances.
Yeah, it was actually really special, and I remember both of you guys meeting you very, very young. I remember the very first time I actually saw Serena. She doesn't even know this, but it was at an exhibition. I think it was Nancy Reagan or someone had just say no
Yeah.
exhibition,
Yeah.
and where you guys were like 8 and 7 or something, and
We were so
Rosie
young.
Casal, yeah, Rosie Casal ran over and she's like, Zina, I want you to see these two girls play, two black girls play. And I remember running over and Serena was just a little bit over the net and she was pumping her fist, yes! And I was like, who is that? And you were poaching. Who told you to poach at that age?
I don't know. I don't know. I am a good poacher in double, sometimes too much. I think it was my dad. He always just because we used to play doubles when we were younger, which is rare, I think, for kids at that age to actually play doubles. So we played doubles mostly in practice and just around the community with other people at the parks. But it was wild because it was like I don't know. He would always tell us to go get the ball. I remember when he would always say, "Get the ball, get the ball, get the ball." I remember one time Venus was so like mad at him saying that that she took the guy served and the guy was serving to me on the forehand side. I've always played the forehand side my whole life. The guy was serving and she crossed and hit the volley off the serve. And I remember my dad said, "No, no, no, you can't do that. You can't do that." But he's like, "You told us to go get the ball." And so he said, "If you
Like,
get
why
all the
can't
balls,
you?
it's not the serve." So it was definitely my dad that was like, "Be aggressive at the net." Um, at least in doubles.
Well,
Still working on it
I
in
mean,
singles.
no, I mean, for sure. You think about the doubles being an all around player and kind of using that skill set, Zina, you as well. And I think about the first time, Serena, you won your first major. That was what, 8 years after Zina's run. Zina, do you kind of remember what you thought when you saw Serena? And I'm trying to understand, Serena, if you think about that now, your first major, if you had to explain like to your daughter, she was a little bit older, you had to tell her what that was like, what you were feeling during those moments. How would you describe that? I remember seeing it, but I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I just knew I was going to win that year, and I can't explain it. I knew before I got there. I told myself I was going to win. It was my time, and I just felt it. I was like, I'm going to win. Everything leading up to that. I remember I didn't play San Diego that year, but I remember being there with Venus. I may have played doubles there, and I think I may have won Los Angeles that year when there was a tournament in Los Angeles. And yeah, I just remember thinking this is because I had finally beaten Martina Hingis. She would beat me 3 times and I would beat her 3 times in a row. And so I think the US Open was like the second or third win in a row. And I was like, okay, everything is stacked for me to win this in the final. But just in general, like going into that tournament, from day one, I just had this sick feeling that I was like this instinct that I was going to win. It's just weird.
That's incredible. No, it's
And I've never
interesting
had
for
that so exact feeling like that.
a
I've had
feeling.
like things like I'm comfortable and I'm confident and I'm good enough, but I've never had just this instinct that I'm gonna like win like that.
And that was for your first one. You had that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm curious because we talk about Wimbledon, both of you guys know those courts so well, but Zina, I think back to when you got to that final, when you won against Monica, then you won against Steffi. You did not have a clothing contract.
No.
So you played with Martina Navratilova's clothes, and you would eventually beat her in the final. What was that like? First of all, not being able to get a contract when you had been top 10, you'd gotten a 4 in the world, had an incredible career for years already, and players who hadn't had your results in your resume had contracts, had sponsors, clothing wise. What was that like? How did that affect your mindset?
Well, actually, I had my first contract was actually with Pony, and then I was told that I wasn't blue-eyed, and I didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, and so they gave the contract to someone else. So I literally just we won't say.
Can you text it to me?
I'll send you an article. But anyway, so no, actually, it was supposed to be Helena Suskova. It was actually who it was supposed to be, but. So the thing about that is, Chanda, I just decided then that wasn't anybody going to stop me. I was just going to let my racket do the work and just keep, plugging away. I had no idea that was going to take 5 years. But the great thing about it was Martina asked me if I wanted to wear clothes at Wimbledon. So I said, okay, fine. I didn't have a clothing deal. So.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I just want to say, though, Serena, I've always admired the way that you just kind of gone ahead and played, even when you weren't getting, you won 5 Wimbledons and you won all these titles and everything, and you still hadn't, I don't know if you remember this, you came up to me at I was sitting down at the U.S. Open. He said, Zina, guess what? I got my first Fortune 500 company contract. And you had just gotten a deal with IBM, and you were so excited. And I remember that. And we talked a little bit about, how you have played so many great matches, and this was the first one big deal that you got.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely don't remember that. I have the worst memory, as you know. But yeah, I think I think you have such an interesting story to tell for so many people. And I hate to use this word timely, but unfortunately it is a timely story. But for me, it's more of a timeless story. And that's kind of how it has been throughout my career. It's just timeless. And then Chanda, like you had some amazing moments too, which I think were really influential on me. I think I always teased you about the one
Yes, you
match
did. I know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say. You and
down,
Venus.
You were down like,
I don't know. What was
love. She was down the first show.
She's about to say it.
Love, 5 love, 40 love.
And they make it up though.
Second serve. And then you came back for the win.
Yeah, I remember the first time you and Venus came up to me like at a French Open. You're like, okay, we don't believe this story is true. You have to tell us. Did it really happen? And I was like, yes, I came back in this match, and I was down 5 love, 40 love in the third, and it was against Yana Novotna, rest in peace. But it was an incredible moment. But yeah, they just laugh about it. Like I thought, why?
Yes, I mean, without you realizing it, it definitely inspired myself and Venus to like say when we're down, like, all the many, many times I've been down match points. Like it's moments like that when you realize that someone else can do it, especially someone that looks like you and that people have never been like this in this sport. It's like, okay, I can do it too. So yeah, it's really cool as well.
It's interesting because I think, inspiration wise, I mean, you obviously, have just raised the bar, and, we've played a couple of times in our careers. It was during a 1-year period, but you were having like the best year ever. You go on to win Wimbledon and barely lose a match in that particular year. And it's happened time and time again. And, we sort of talk about with Zina not having a clothing contract. I know for me, and, you don't have to comment, but for me, playing at the same time, our careers overlapping, seeing you, in my opinion, as a Black player, have such a winning record, have such a resume, and similar to Zina's story, to not get what I thought was your due, to have 4 times the titles, but be making half the money off the court. And we talk about this a lot. Yes, on the court, our rackets can do the talking, which is great. But it's off the court where you see the discrepancies, the inequalities, and that can affect you as a player. That affects your mindset, and it's kind of
can affect
the
you
idea of feeling less.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did you get through that?
Well, it can affect you if you allow it to affect you. There's some people in the locker room that has been really affected by the way others have been treated. And I've made it a point early in my career after watching some of those people that I never wanted that negativity. Their energy was just so bad and they were so bitter, and other people had been affected the same way and didn't make a lot of money, but their attitude was just different and just more happy, and their life was happier. And I made a point from then, like, and I didn't even know what was going to happen to me. I just knew that I never wanted to be like some of those people that I saw. And
hey,
baby, well, I'm sorry. What, baby?
Bring her on. She's okay.
Oh, okay. Mama's on the phone. Can you go get Papa?
Daddy.
So I made that a point. And also, I'm not, if you guys, Zina, you know me probably a little better, but I am not a materialistic kind of individual. And I have a very strong spiritual background, and I always have. And honestly, all this is temporary. I believe that. I believe what the Bible says. And Lex, can you? Thank you. I believe that. I believe what the Bible says, and that we are not. There's so much more to life than what you can put in your pockets and what other people have. And then, maybe things come full circle if it maybe not.
Yeah.
But for me, I'd never forget how, I don't want to say awful, just how angry this person was and just like how heavy and negative. And I was like, I just can't, like, I will never, ever want to be like her. And I
So
never
we
was.
can't ask you who that is now. You asked
Yeah,
Zina,
you
and
you
we can
can,
ask
but I'm
you.
going to text you. And you guys will probably be like, I get it. Oh, I get it now. Yeah, I
Now,
never want to be like that.
interestingly enough, Sue, I know we're going to run out of time here, but I have to say, I mean, I believe exactly what you're saying because you did something. I don't know if you remember the second time we played. This was in 2002. The second time we played tournament
What's that
in
didn't
Los
you beat me?
Angeles.
Oh no, not in LA.
I beat you by the
Oh,
skin of my teeth there. You had killed me at Wimbledon that year and
oh,
won it, and just, I mean, like I said, barely lost a match. I beat you, I think it was like 7-6 in the third. Tough match, hard fought, but and it was the quarters, right? So you're like, I'm
yeah, yeah,
good, I'm gonna
yeah.
go on, I'm gonna move on. But
Whatever.
Serena, you the next day, I don't know if you remember this, but my coach Benny Sims asked you to warm me up, and you warmed me up. And there are not many players that would have done that, that would have first of all stuck around after losing and when they're ready to get to the next tournament, but would have warmed that person up. And you were like
When Benny
fantastic.
says to do something, you gotta do it.
But you tell me, you're like, okay, now go win the tournament. And I said, okay, now I gotta win the tournament. But it was
yes,
incredible.
yes.
Chanda told me that story. I said, she did what? She warmed you up that you
well,
Yes.
I can't say
So, you wouldn't do that
I
now,
have
right?
a genuine. If you asked me, if someone asked me, it's different because, like, you have to genuinely be happy for people, as long as you've done your best, and if
I
oh, I could have
gotcha.
done better, I could have done better, but like, also, I would never say no to someone like you, that needed helping hand. When I say someone like you, it's someone that's black that needed it. So, also would never say no to Benny. But there's a lot of factors in there. But yeah, it's like, I mean, who that's what you remember. You don't remember maybe title 18, but you remember those moments that really impact and make people say like, oh, well, she was more than a champion on the court. And that's what I always said. I don't really care about my results on the court. For me, it's more of the stuff that what is the purpose of your life and what is that? So that's why a lot of this stuff really genuinely doesn't affect me. And when people turns out that people actually are doing drugs, the truth comes out.
Well, I
And they
always
get
teach.
caught and then they get banned for not long enough.
I always teach Chanda with her shade, but I think you and Chanda are pretty good. Okay. So I have another question that I was always intrigued, and you probably won't remember, but I remember asking you and Venus, like, why were you guys so positive all the time? And both of you guys told me that your mom would always tell you guys almost every day that you're strong Black women, you can do whatever. Are you working on instilling that into Olympia right now as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, today, that's all I told her today. Ironically enough, that you asked that. I keep telling her to be strong, fall, be hard, be tough, and it's important because, she's around so many different elements and no one knows what's going to happen to her in the future, what she's going to be around, what tests she's going to have to do, what people she has to encounter. And I really do believe it starts at a really young age and having that positive reinforcement, like, hey, I can do this, hey, I'm strong, hey, I believe in me. It really starts with believing in yourself. And
Yeah.
Even if like you don't believe in yourself, it's like mental, like you got the mental coach, like just telling yourself that every day is like it means something and it does something. And so I think that having my mom do that, and then again just being raised the way we were and understanding that life is so short and this career, although it's been long, it's really short relative to your life, and there's so much more that are so many more important things in life. As you grow, you get to realize, and um, you have your moments, and if you have great moments for a year or 2 years or 10 years or whatever, it's just those moments and doesn't define your whole entire life.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we
Now,
have anything to worry about. We saw that Instagram post with her ready position. She
oh my
has
goodness.
strong.
Oh my gosh.
She got it
The
going on.
legs.
I
Oh
tease
my
Chanda
goodness.
all the time about Harper and being stubborn, but I think Olympia and Harper can play doubles when they grow up for sure.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
never seen her ready position in my life like that. Like, I don't know where she got it from because it's complete opposite of my ready position. So I'm just
Well,
like,
she's got it.
that's
It
crazy.
was incredible. I mean, it basically broke the internet. So I mean, we loved it. We didn't get permission to show it, so we were not going to put it up there on the screen. I know Daddy took the picture, but it was fantastic. And Serena, I know you've got to get out of here. My last kind of
Yeah,
thought
no,
is,
I pushed it back I pushed my other call, but I'm texting them that I'm going to be late, so I have a few more minutes, but it's up to you.
okay, well,
Chanda,
hey,
I would just
we
say,
love
yeah,
it.
maybe a few more questions and you can go in
I
and then
got
end on a
one.
positive note.
So,
Yeah,
well, Chanda, I'll go in with one more and then I'll let you.
I want to ask an Olympia one as well, so a follow up. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just I want to follow up with this. So as a mom, okay, because I get it, it's different for everybody, but is there anything that you sort of have learned as a mom that you maybe didn't think of? You have a strong Black mother, but what are some of the things that you've kind of been surprised by being a mom to Olympia?
Well, I mean, definitely the connection, the love I have for her, like it's unparalleled to any other love that I have for another human being. In general, because it's just, I love my husband so much, but it's a different kind of love. It's like also, I think because she's so young, it's like a protection and she can't do much. And like, it's my responsibility and my husband's responsibility to protect her. So I didn't expect to have that. And I look at my mom and I'm like, oh, now I understand why she tells me don't get in the water in the ocean because we're going to drown. Like 2 years ago.
No.
So, yes, true story. So, but now I get some of that. I hope I wouldn't say to my daughter when she's in her mid 30s, late 30s, but I'm just like, okay, mom. But I just also didn't understand like the different level of respect and love I have for my own mom, which is like, I didn't expect that. Like, I just needed her there. I need her more. I rely on her so much more than I ever have, like, since I was a kid, and I just, there's so much. I also didn't expect all the time. Like, my day is like tennis, baby, and then my day starts at night. Like, Chanda, I'll text you at late hours. That's literally when my day starts. That's like my 9 to 5
that's
starts
your
at
time.
like, that's my time. After she goes to bed. And it's just like, that's really I don't know, especially since I started training, I didn't realize I would want to put so much time in this relationship with her. So it's, but I keep going.
That's
I love
fantastic. Yeah. That's the beauty of it.
The last thing that I wanted to say, I've been enjoying my time having the opportunity to talk to you during quarantine. And thanks for taking my call and let's talking, but you've really helped me grow. You don't even know some of the things that you just helped me. But the thing
I've been meaning to get back on the phone with you. It's been so hard. It's training, killing me.
We still connect, but the one thing that has, just really come up with me, and I remember, I don't even know if you remember this, you had a conversation with Taylor and Skylar, and one of the first at Charleston, and they were so excited to come and talk to you, but it was very interesting because I knew that you weren't just going to talk tennis, but you talked history, and the first question you asked them if they knew their history, and we got back in that car, and it was like, she didn't even say anything about tennis. But the thing that I would like for you to let our audience know, because I've talked to you now, how important it is to know your history and when you're trying to go somewhere.
Well, so my dad, this is something that I owe to him. You can't know where you're going unless you know your past. Until you know what's happened, about yourself and about your culture and about you, then you're never going to be, I mean, I don't think you're going to be as good or successful or whatever you want to do as you can. And you have to learn that. So for me, that's what we did. Like, once I learned about who my people were, I knew that I could endure so much. I knew that only the strong survived, only. So I have to be strong. I must be because it's in my DNA. Like, I mean, I'm clearly the strong because those are the only ones that survived. So for me, that history helped me in my career and in my life. And I think when you get to know your history, it really helps you deal with a lot of other stuff. So that's how I related it back to me. But there's always other ways that you can relate different things. But and listen, that's what my dad always said. And I was a good kid. I actually always listened to my parents. So I hope Olympia's a good kid too. I was like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I can definitely see that. Now, I'm wondering, with everything kind of going on now in the world, are there some things you've learned about your history, about history that you maybe didn't know that's kind of, been more meaningful to you now?
Um, I can't sit here and say now I have. I've done a deep study about African American history. In fact, I took courses in college on it because they really sometimes don't give you the nitty gritty. And they were very painful courses. And this was years and years and years ago. In fact, I had to come out of one because I just couldn't take it. And then eventually I went back, but it was, um, I, I'm more or less the person that's saying, nodding their head and like, yeah, well, you didn't know this and that, and just, talking about different facts that they may not have known. I also went to Africa like almost a decade ago was my first trip to Africa. I've been several times, but that was a really important part for me to learn my history. And so I'm a history, like, I love history, whether it's African American history. I love all kinds of history. I just find it really fascinating for whatever reason. But yeah, so I'm definitely more the person that, yeah, is like, okay, yeah, well, didn't you know that this happened and this happened and this happened? And so more or less like chiming in and telling facts. And it's fun. There's a lot of people don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. And you just have to kind of tell people what happened and why it happened, why things still happen. And, you know, yeah, so yeah.
Well, one of the questions, and this is the last one of the questions that Zina and I have talked about a few times on this show with other guests are the Olympics. You guys got gold medals. Okay. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. I'm wondering, just in the spirit of, sort of USA and why you have played in team competitions, what you put into it, this strength you talk about, how important has the Olympics been and what has that experience been like?
Well, in the past, it's been um, a wonderful experience, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I just feel like I've come, as a tennis player, as you know, we live to play Grand Slams. And anything else is just usually you don't think about it. It's like, oh, we have a tournament next week or we have another Grand Slam in a couple months. So and that's what we're remembered for. No one really knows how many Olympic gold medals I may have or may not have. So
you've got a lot. You've got a lot now.
Yeah, but
and
like
I'm gonna,
it's not the first thing. It's the first thing people say. So yeah, it's been a really interesting experience.
Sometimes it is. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I played doubles with Venus at the Olympics. Probably one of the few times she's played with anyone other than you. And I've been on the other side of the court with you too. I was feeling really bad about myself. I'm like, I'm not Serena here. But
Smash. Her mother and me were having nightmares up there watching you guys play too.
And we were like right there. We ended up losing to the team that won the gold medal that year. And I kind of felt bad because we were so close and Venus was phenomenal. I'll tell this story and kind of in there, but I could not believe the athlete that Venus was. We had one point that they hit down my line. The point was over. I mean, for normal people, the point is over. Like, there's no way. She's at the baseline, way on the other side of the court. I turn around and say, oh, good shot. Venus was going to have the next point. She's still running and tracking down that ball. She gets it back. The point's still going. I've got to reset and keep playing. I think we ended up winning that point, but it was ridiculous. Just the difference playing with her versus any other partners I play with.
Yeah.
I'm jealous now that you got to play with her your whole career.
Honestly, yeah, it's been a real cheat. It's been a real cheat sheet. So that's why we're like two powerhouses that practice doubles, and it helped our singles game, I think, for sure. And definitely mentally, so you're not so nervous in some instances.
Yeah.
And, it's like, okay, this is semifinals of doubles, and then you're in the semifinals of singles. It makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, I love playing doubles. I really do.
Yeah, well, that's the strength you guys have both shown. And, I wouldn't want to live on the difference. You're talking about you have a cheat. I think, she's got one too. So you guys have been playing.
Well, my Olympics with them will always be their first one that they won in Sydney. That was just amazing to watch you guys win your first one. It was so awesome.
That was so fun because I didn't have to play singles. I was 10 in the world at the time, and I didn't qualify. I think every player that was top was American at that time, and I didn't qualify, and we ended up playing doubles, and it was crazy. I was like, man, but we won, and it was good, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember running down there to tell you guys, make sure you don't drape the flag over you. Just make sure you show it. And I remember I remember also telling you guys that winning this goal will help you. I said Tiger Woods is going to make all this money, but this is going to put you guys right in there. And I got off the plane and I saw the USA Today cover, and that's still one of my favorite pictures with the flag behind you and Venus, and you guys look so happy.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. What a memory.
Those were the old days. Those were the old days. And now, new memories.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Serena. This has been so much fun.
Yes,
and congrats on 30 years.
Sharing.
I see you have that tequila and stuff behind you, so really take that to the head.
I'm a big drinker. I must
30
tell
seconds,
you,
minimum of 30 seconds, 1 second per year.
Only you would notice that, but okay.
Yes, I'm wondering how you.
We'll wait, and we'll watch.
Well, thank you so much, Serena, for joining us, for sharing your thoughts and your memories as well. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching. It's been another fantastic episode.